All right. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Fresh Perspective Podcast. Hey, man, listen, I'm your boy Ray, and this is
your boy Tuck.
and welcome to Mama. What's happening? I'm sorry, I like to say happening like that a little bit. I'm not even from the South. I'm from Delco. Let's introduce our guest.
Yeah, so today we got my good sister Selena Brown on the show. She's a wonderful wife, mother, and just the all-around woman. So I'm glad and honored that she decided to accept the invitation to come join us on our show in our early stages, or in what we like to call the foundation. So welcome to the show, Sal.
Thank you all for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So what we like to do is we start off with a segment called What's Happening. And in this segment, we just do our check-ins. We do bi-weekly recordings. And so we do our check-in and we just say what's happening between the last, say, 2 weeks with us. So this is the Mother's Day episode.
Mama, what's happening is trying to find a private space because I cannot shut myself in my office.
Right. Oh, no. So if you saw the last episode, Monster was made an appearance on there. A very loud one, a very Avengers-like appearance on our episode. So we welcome it because that's the reality of life. And so we don't ever shun that away. We don't cut it unless you ask us to, in the sense of not having your child on there. But we don't see that as a hindrance. So yeah. So we'll start with you, Sal. What's happening?
Life is out here lifing. I mean, I don't, man. Have kids, they said. It is, it's wonderful, but yeah, life is good. I can't complain. I mean, I could complain, but overall, life is good. Like when I sit and reflect and just like, yeah, it's hard. Life is hard right now. But it's still sweet. Very sweet moments. So I can't complain.
That's good.
I could, but I won't.
You have what we like to call a fresh perspective.
Absolutely.
Yes, so that's good. I think it's reality. Yeah, it's reality, but at the same time, like you said, there's the sweetness of life and there's the joy of life, even in the midst of lifing.
Right.
So, what about you, brother? What's happening with you?
You gotta say it right. What's happening? No, I'm just kidding, y'all. Man. So this week or 2 weeks, I guess, because I ain't really seen it in 2 weeks. So for those that don't know, I'm a landscaper, right? But I'm allergic to grass.
Yeah.
And so I'm out here cutting grass, but I'm sneezing. And Chuck's camera caught me sneezing. And when I say I'm sneezing, I'm talking about like snotting, like everything is coming out of me or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why do I do this?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I really was able to kind of reflect on the reason why I started the business in the first place, right? The hardness of allergies, life, and that kind of stuff is always going to pop up. But I did it so that I could leave a legacy one day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not pregnant, but my future kids, I can't leave them my job.
Right.
But I could leave them this business.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'll go through these allergies for the rest of my life if I can leave this to my son whenever he's born.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what's happening. How about yourself?
For me, we're getting into the thick of it at work. So it's a lot of preparing for a summer bridge program that we do. And in that, there's just the administrative side, which is not my favorite thing to do, but it's necessary. So it's it's been a challenge to stay locked in. But it's also enjoyable because of my supervisor. She's been in this position so long, and I mentioned this in the first episode. She is such a blessing to me and is really looking for me to succeed and wants to really promote me because she's ready to retire. So all the information she's giving me and things like that, I'm just really enjoying this role in a different way. It's a small team. It's really just like me, her, and one other person who's part-time. And we're looking to add another part-time person throughout the week. But it's a small team, so there isn't a lot of the drama. Because if there's any kind of confusion or anything, there's only basically two of us full time, so come directly to each other.
Right.
So it's a very healthy environment. She is older than me, and she's even older than my mother. So there's the place where you might feel like, oh, there's going to be an issue with like maybe communication, but there isn't. It's been really good, and she has a respect for me that I haven't seen necessarily from older people who have lived life a lot longer than you. Sometimes there's this kind of look at
Mhm.
like you young, you don't know what you're talking about. But she listens to me. We have good conversation even outside of work related things, just life and culture. She's a believer too, so have that aspect in common, and so it's good to glean that kind of wisdom from a professional standpoint, even just a life standpoint. She's seen so much in her lifetime, so I'm really enjoying it, and that's what's happening for me.
It's almost like having a grandmom at work in a way.
I didn't say that, you did, just in case you.
I mean, that's okay. I'm not speaking it from an age perspective. I'm just saying, like,
If you feel
she
that way, my brother,
she like grandma. You know what I'm saying? I got a grandma at work.
listen.
You know what I'm talking about?
All I'm gonna
You
say
said she
is,
older than your mama, bro.
I'm just saying.
Anyway, let's move on from what's happening. That's why I'm in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Let's move on from it.
So just to kind of give I guess a synopsis of what the episode will be about. A lot of what we're going to talk about today is just kind of like what it is to be a mom, and specifically for you, Selena, and what it is to be a mom, what it was to want to be a mother, or not. We don't know. We'll figure all this out as we travel this episode. But we want to kind of just flush that out. But also, we want to humanize mothers. I feel like mothers become this other society of like, oh, you're a mom, and you become so and so's mom, and then in another arena related to motherhood in many ways,
Right.
or so and so's wife or something like that. Like you kind of women kind of get othered and pushed to the other side. So this episode, we really want to take the time to ask you some questions to allow you to answer them in your own way, but to allow the viewers and other mothers to see that it's okay to have other thoughts and want to do other things and be other things. So without further ado, I'll jump right in and just ask the first question.
Let's do it.
So my first question was going to be what is the most challenging aspect of being a mother?
Mm. The most challenging aspect of being a mother is there is no rule book or handbook. Nobody giving me a play by play of decision making. I think that I saw this post online the other day where it was like my 13-year-old self, don't tell me what to do. But my current self is like, can somebody please tell me what to do, how to do it, when to do it? And so I can make the right decision. And that's
Yeah.
just how I feel right now. And I'm just like, there's so much of just like, I feel like unprepared for it. I really feel like how I feel too not young in the sense of my age, but I feel like I'm a child trying to raise children because I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's real. I mean, in many ways, you are growing with them. So that's a real feeling. And
Yes.
I appreciate your honesty in that. I think a lot of moms, one thing I see from interacting with you and the many other mothers that are around us is that there are seasons where y'all are harder on yourselves than the results of what are actually happening would say you should be. So, sometimes you miss that you're doing such a wonderful job. And I can say that to you, and I'm gonna say it to you a million times throughout the episode. You're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you,
And
brother.
so
I appreciate
just
it.
it's hard for you. I know when you're up close to it, you're so close you
Yes.
can't see. But I can tell you that because I'm back, and even with my wife, like with Diana, I can see you're doing a wonderful job as a mother
Absolutely.
because I'm
Yeah.
kind of back and looking. But when you're up close to it, you don't see it
Yeah.
that way. So I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
I appreciate your candidness with that answer.
Hmm. So you said at 13 you didn't want nobody to tell you what to do, right? But now you like, yo, I need some help. Tell me what to do, right? So how do you
Yeah.
handle unsolicited parenting advice?
Um, so my tendency is to like rebut with like and like kind of challenge unsolicited advice, but I'm learning to just take it on the chin and be more gracious in my response. Just like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that's not the way I'm doing it, or but you know, to each his own, and leave it at that. But I have a tendency to I can get defensive sometimes, or I can just kind of trying to stand my ground. But I really like I really don't have to do that. Like I don't have to use your advice, so there's no need of me going back and forth with you.
Yeah,
That makes sense to me.
yeah. I appreciate that. I think that's real. I think I've learned over my life in general, but definitely with mothers, to be very cautious how you approach with I guess whatever wisdom you think you have.
Truly,
Because you
and
don't
it's also
understand.
helped me too. Like
Yeah,
not do that to younger moms that's coming up under me. That's like on just starting at one child. Like being
yeah,
mindful of. I was once there, and like it was just some advice that was just like I didn't ask you for, and they didn't ask me for it either, just because I'm two kids in.
right, right. And that's a good one too. So the next question is what has been the most rewarding part of motherhood?
Ooh. So sometimes when you are in the thick of parenting and like you're saying stuff to your kids and you're trying to, I think that like having the baby part, like aside from labor and delivery, is easy. Like anybody could want a baby. I think getting into the actual parenting, discipling, raising your children up is very very difficult, especially when you really want to be God honoring in that, and you really want to get it right. And so there are points where you just feel like everything that I'm saying is going one ear and out the other, and I'm constantly having to repeat myself. I'm constantly having to um, correct behaviors. Like, Lord, do you hear me talking to these kids? And I think that the most rewarding thing is to see the fruit of that labor in unexpected moments. It's almost like a sweet kiss from the Lord. Like,
Mm.
keep doing what you're doing. It's like, my children will wake up and there are moments and times where I don't feel like pressing into worship, but they're like, no, we're putting on worship and we're worshiping. And so it's just like, oh, y'all do be listening. Oh, y'all do hear me. Or it's when if I've yelled too loud, mommy, that's not kind to yell. Oh, so y'all do listen to me, and you're right, and I repent. I'm sorry for yelling, but it's those times where it's like everything, like when you feel like you're repeating yourself so much,
Mhm.
and in the moment nothing is changing, but then randomly, here's the fruit of what you've been saying, what you've been doing, manifesting, and even how they treat other people, how they interact with other people in the world, and just people being able to see your children, they're sweet and they're precious, because at times at home they don't always feel sweet and precious because I'm like, y'all are about to run me out my own house.
Sure.
um, but seeing that how they're already contributing to society by being loving, being kind, and being themselves and walking out in confidence, um, is it blows my mind, and it's the most rewarding part of parenting, I would say, being a mom.
Okay.
That's good. It's real good.
Yeah.
So what I heard when you were speaking about like how they are in public versus how they are at home, uh, I thought about when a seed is planted, right?
Mm,
So when a seed is planted, is in the dark. So let's take a house for instance, right? When we close the door, we're in the dark to society, right? They
Yeah.
can't see beyond the door or the windows and all these things, right? But what happens in the process of the seed? So the seed is in the dark. That's where all the real work happens. It's rooted in the dark, right? So now the roots are going deep and they're going sideways and whatever that looks like, right?
yeah.
But when it sprouts,
Woo.
people like, yo, that look good.
Yeah.
That plant is really it's full of life.
Yeah.
It's very bright,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? It's not it's pollinating the right way, right?
Yeah.
It's the same as with your children, right?
Yeah.
Door is closed, We're cut off from society. We're building the roots.
Mhm.
So when they go out, they're kind, they're respectful, they're God fearing. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Something that you could be proud of because in the
absolutely.
dark, you built the roots.
Yeah.
That's
Come on.
good. That's a really good analogy because roots are messy. You ever pulled out roots?
I
Like
did. I'm a
if you're
landscaper.
repotting, right? You repotting plants, roots are everywhere, entangled, entwined. It's messy work,
Yeah.
but you're absolutely right. Then you produce this beautiful, life giving, contributing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if
It's
you cut off
amazing.
the wrong root. Now, man, we're not preaching. Go ahead. Let's finish. Let's finish.
But to your point though, but to your point and about the messiness, like you said, we deal with that, and so when you're like you got that entanglement in the rooting, that's what we're feeling in real time. Like
Yeah.
that's what we're feeling. We're
Yes.
feeling the friction of that because as our children grow, they're forming their own personalities and they're becoming who they're going to be, and they have their
Right.
own thoughts and opinions even at the young age, and so when you're trying to correct and redirect and stuff and you're getting a lot of resistance, you can forget like, oh, it's supposed to be like this for me
Hmm.
because we're on a
Yeah.
training ground. And it's so important how we handle that as parents in the moment. So, and things, go the way they go, right? You try to do what you have it
Right.
um set to do, but sometimes they go the way they go.
Exactly.
Because they got the minds of their own.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
Ain't no such thing as a child's place. Ain't no
Listen.
such thing as a child's place.
Listen.
all right, so we're gonna shift a little bit. Uh, so there's many songs about mamas out there. You know, Boys the Man got one,
Yeah.
Tupac got one, right? And they both are actually from different perspectives, right? To me, Boys the Men is more like soft and loving, and Tupac is more like, you know what I'm saying, I can't really, just like
Raw.
raw. There you
And
go, there you go,
Yes.
raw.
Yes.
Uh, so the next question would be, what was your relationship with your mom like, and how does that influence the way that you mother?
ah.
Is it raw like Tupac, or is it loving like Boys the Men?
um, I'm gonna say it was a combination. Um, yeah, I'm gonna say it's a combination. I think that being an adult and being a mom, I have a lot more grace and compassion for my mom. My mom was a single mom of two daughters. And she was working really hard to make sure that we were in safe neighborhoods, safe living spaces, safe schools. And by her working so hard, there, so that's the kind of like the Tupac side. Dear mama, like I see you work hard. Like I like that's what I saw, like grinding, trying to make sure we had our basic needs and stuff. And so I missed out on some of that tenderness and emotional um, support from my mom and emotional nurturing that I needed from my mom, especially in pivotal years. Um, and so I think that um, I think it's taken me to become a mom to see the nuances of motherhood. And I think that sometimes when you're growing up, um, or even when you become an adult, for me it's easy to put people in a box and just, especially moms or your primary parent, that they're just this one thing, but it is so nuanced. And like you, I think becoming a mom helped me to see her humanness, um which has helped our relationship in my adulthood. I was a rebel as a child, as a teenager. I was buck up against the grain. So my mom had it hard dealing with me. Um, but in hindsight, I'm like, as a mom, I'm like, well, yeah, she could have did it this way because this is what I really need and not what she did when I was bucking up against the grain. But that's really hard. that's really hard. Even as a mom raising strong-willed, stubborn girls, I see how hard that is to break out of what society says discipline and correction is, what you just know as discipline and correction, and really go to this place um, of covering and go to this place of tenderness and gentleness. And um, I think that it's it's easy to forget um, the fruits of the spirit in parenting, where it's just like, no, but I gotta correct this because if I don't, but the Bible also calls us to be gentle. So I can be gentle in my correction. And so a part of me is just like, yeah, where was that gentleness that I could have benefited from? And I've had to do a lot of forgiving and letting my mom off the hook for her humanness and being flawed and not having it and giving me the best which she did. She gave me the best that she had to give. And I'm grateful for that. Um, but I've had to also do a lot of healing and a lot of work, forgiving the places where she fell short. And becoming a mother has helped me to do that because I see how hard it is. Um, and I also try not to parent from a place of what I didn't have because then that becomes stressful and this whole striving thing with
Mhm.
that. So yeah, like there are some my mom is a really fun mom. I can remember like she was always doing things with us, like every museum in Philly we've been to, amusement parks. She was that mom that was like, I could take you some here, but sit on your shoulder and cry and boo-hoo and talk about the deepness of life or being sensitive was not always a safe space.
Mm.
So
Okay.
it was both. I got both. And
Okay.
That's
Now,
awesome.
to piggyback off of that, which one of your children do you believe is most likely like you, because you mentioned being sensitive, not really having a space, and then how do you respond to seeing the little girl you in your face?
so my most sensitive child is Aria, my youngest.
Okay.
She's about to be 3 in 2 weeks. She's definitely more. She's very sensitive. When I see her and how she reacts to things, I see me. But also, I see Bella, and that's my oldest. She's about to be 6 this year. When I see her, she's not as sensitive as her sister, but she's deeply emotional. And she is also, I see her in me. I see little girl Selena in her bucking up against the grain.
Mm,
That's that's the part of me
Mhm.
that I see in her. And so I think this is like what we were talking about earlier about like growing alongside your kids.
Yeah.
This is, and it almost it makes me emotional. That has been the hardest thing is to break out of old narratives and
Yeah.
habits and rise up to say, yes, Lord, you've given me the capacity
Mhm.
to go beyond what I've ever had and to be and to form my own brand of motherhood
Yeah.
that is specific for what these babies need.
Mhm.
But it's been hard.
mm,
You hear me? Hard.
Yeah.
Because the natural bend is easy to yell, it's easy to fly off the handle, it's easy to pop,
Yeah.
but it's not so easy to slow yourself down and figure out what the need is, to figure out what's happening for your children. It's not so easy to try to manage your own emotions and what's triggering you
Yeah.
so that you can facilitate them and trust that God has you so you don't have to spaz out in this moment and that there's still figuring out that there's still room for you to be human, to
Yeah.
be emotional, to be sensitive while also facilitating emotional, sensitive, and needy kids. And
Yep.
so it's finding that place of truly trusting God to give you the wisdom to facilitate them. And
Mhm.
um, but there have been really hard moments where I just feel like this is impossible. Like I cannot do this because of it. Because it's like it almost feels like if I'm too gentle, if I'm too kind and loving in this moment, I'm going to screw my kids up because they'll have no real idea of discipline and being respectful and
Yeah.
just all the things that you want for your children. And but God is like, well, no, I'm doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it? And this is the way that I'm going. And in me, hoping me never leads to disappointment. I have them. They're ultimately His. And so
Mhm.
it has, you know, deepened my dependence on God, deepened my trust in what He wants to do in and through me
Yeah.
for these babies, and that it's not all the Selena show. Like I don't have to shoulder everything. That sometimes I don't have to do all that talking. I can just pray, and sometimes it is, and that's grace. And I'm often thinking about, well, y'all remember them WWJD bracelets?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
it sounds so cliche, but seriously, you have to think about how is God to you as a parent.
Mhm.
And when I think about God's grace to me as a parent and how He should have snatched me up, yanked me right on up out of here a long time ago for my disobedience and rebellion,
Yeah.
even in my thoughts and deeds, even to today, when I think about His grace and His mercy, how much should I apply that to my own parenting? He is the model parent.
Yeah.
And so it's been literally taking it back to, Lord, you ain't get me for that today. I
Right.
don't need to feel a pressure to get you for
Right.
everything. And it's been unlearning that, really.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good word. Unlearning. I think a lot of people don't realize some of our dysfunctional, where we've come from, our roots, our dysfunctional roots,
Yeah.
and dead roots that we need to allow to shrivel up and just and separate themselves from us. And that's that unlearning of some of our tribal stuff that we
Yes.
come from, which is like it got us here, but it won't take us forward.
Right.
So I commend you because I've got to walk closely with you and David, which is everybody. That's her husband, David, my good brother who I grew up with, and being that me and Diana and we have our crew that and, oh, by the way, I'm putting it on air. We need to get that stuff back together. But
Yes, right.
but I'm putting it on air. So when y'all watch this, no,
Right. So no
I
excuses.
want smoke. Don't make me release no track like Kendrick.
Okay.
But
Straight to the source.
but in all seriousness, that unlearning and watching the growth and knowing the journey and all of that and the intentionality, and just being able to be there and witness that, and we all kind of our kids are not far apart in age.
Right.
We've all kind of entered into this space, at a similar time, and so being able to see that, like everything you're saying is what I've been watching. And so you, like I said, I'm gonna tell you multiple times throughout the episode, you are doing a wonderful job.
Appreciate you,
Keep
brother.
doing what you're doing. And I appreciate you sharing your story because there's somebody out there that's gonna see this, and really and maybe have an epiphany and be like, oh, that's what's like, that's what it is. That's why it's a much different what my parents did and what their parents did, and
Right.
it's a whole new thing. So having the courage to just stay in it. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you.
I'm man. I'm over here like I want to go deep on this, John, but so yeah, we're gonna go there just for a second. Just for a second. Just
All
for a
right.
second. Just for a second. So it's hard because your story reminds me of my mother. So I got to see it from my perspective, from my lenses. Uh And everything that you just explained, I watched her go through it. But what I will say is this, right? So, yes, the root is our parents, right? And we had to go through or grow up through what they knew, right? But what I learned is when you get to the root, sometimes you got to cut it off, right? And you become the standard.
That's right.
So when you cut the root off, right, at the base, you cut it off at the base, right? Hold it up in the air because God gets the glory from that, right? Think about the story of David and Goliath,
Hmm.
right? He not only killed him, but he chopped off his head. And when he was done, he held it up. And God got the glory. Does that make sense? Am I making a little bit of sense?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure because y'all
Yeah, I'm
faces is like
following
this.
you.
Y'all like this.
I'm
I'm like,
following you.
we leaning in. I'm leaning in. I'm listening. I'm
You dig
No,
listening.
in?
no, I can't go too far because we're in a limited time. But whatever it is that we've went through as children, we have to cut it off because God called us to be the standard. He
Yeah.
doesn't take us to places or promotes us uh, because we're not ready. He know we ready, right? And I'm the oldest of 17 kids. So my example has to be the standard. I'm the beginning of this generation. It has to be the standard. You are the standard. You're doing a great job. I don't know you, but you're doing a great job.
Thank
Continue to do what God is telling you to do. You know what I'm saying? You are
you.
hearing from God.
Yeah.
Continue to do what he's telling you to do.
Amen.
One waters, excuse me, one plants, one waters, and then God gets the increase.
Amen. Amen.
So with that, we'll kind of segue. For the sake of time, we'll segue into the more lighthearted
Okay. I'm
closeout
done.
question to
I'm gonna
to
let
all
Tuck
of
talk.
this. We'll have a little fun together here with this last question. Who's your favorite TV mom and why?
Haha. um, that is a good question. Who is my favorite TV mom? You know who my favorite TV mom was? Florida Evans.
Okay.
Florida Evans was my favorite TV mama because she was, even though that show was so like stereotypical, like black people in the ghetto, it was done from a very white lens and white perspective. But one thing that I love that they did not do to her was paint her out to be the monster of the family, and they also did not. Her kids respected her, and she did a lot with little. Um, and she was also just very loving and tender to her family. Like even in when she had to correct her children, it was very loving and uh I feel like nurturing, but she's also um to me very her strength. Like it showed the real deal of like worrying for your kids and like um all of that brings, but then was still able to show up for them and make a way. And it also too showed a very realistic view of how her children helped her
Mhm.
um in a lot of ways, which I think that is sometimes in parenting we can get all one sided, like we're just here for our kids. There's so many lessons that my children teach me. Like I'm a better woman. There is um in the word it says you know women you'll be saved through childbearing. And I remember when I was in the hospital about to have my first daughter, I was like, Lord, show me what that means. What does that mean? Can you tell me what that means? And I was ready and prepared to hear an answer right then and there from the Lord, like, well, this, but the Lord has been answering me ongoing because Bella and Aria continue to save me um, from myself, from um, being an inauthentic version of myself, from being a caricature version of myself. They bring out the best. They are the very best of who I am, and they bring out the best of who I am, and really show me and make me confront and cast down every lie of what I thought I was,
Mm.
things I played into. And it's simply because I don't want them doing it. And so I am kind of forced to be, the woman of God in the spirit of my home, because I have two eyes watching me. And, it is not by accident the Lord trusted me with girls. I was terrified of having girls because of
Mhm.
what I went through as a girl. And I was like, no, it's no way.
Yeah.
And the Lord is like, yeah, I trust you to be a girl mama. You can do it in my strength. And so yeah, I love Florida Evans because I think that she was a learner of her children, and she learned from them, but she also gave them much with the little that she had.
I just got a question, and this might take some cards away from me. But who is that?
Ooh,
Yeah, y'all just got me.
took all
Temporary
the clothes
layoff.
off.
Good
Good
time.
times.
Oh, that's cool. I'm gonna have to go and I'm gonna go to.
Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a
You
minute,
see,
wait a minute,
No,
wait
I
a minute, wait
seen
a
it.
minute.
I did see it,
it's the
but
You
first.
never seen Good Time?
I did, but we're not going there. Let's go ahead and keep going, keep going, keep going. We gonna get off this subject.
brother. I mean, listen, I don't do the whole taking black card stuff, but Good Times is a staple in
It
my.
And
is a
in
staple.
my defense, I'm half and half. So technically, you can't take what I only got half of.
No, that was still
Oh
like they
my!
even still show the reruns
Yeah, I'm
today.
gonna go watch it.
Oh,
But I like that. I like that. That's definitely a fresh perspective on Florida Evans. I think she doesn't get enough credit as a
she
character,
doesn't.
but
People
even as an
always say,
actor,
who is it? Felicia Rashad. What was that? The Cosby. People
Claire,
always say Claire, her
that was for a
sorority, the
long time
Family
my
Matters
favorite.
mom.
So that is mine now. It used to be Claire, but Claire was very that character was interesting to me because to I think almost the way they wrote that show to elevate her as a woman, it kind of diminished him as a
Mm.
father. Like he was the dope, like dummy dad that was just silly but this dude was a doctor too. So I felt like there wasn't a good balance of she's dynamic and he's dynamic. It was like he's
Sure.
dynamic at work, but when he comes home, he's just one of the kids, basically.
He's
That's
right.
basically how they wrote that. And my wife and kids was the same way. It
Yeah.
was like he had his own business and everything. So he was pretty dynamic as a man, but when he was in the house, Jay just looked at him like, "You big dummy," like,
Yep.
like
You, you
like
my sister.
yeah. So I like, and I think all of the shows, even like the Family Matters, have that component to it to a certain degree. But I
Yeah.
liked Harriet's character because she was very stern, but she was loving. She
Yes.
knew her children individually. I don't know who wrote her character, but she
Yeah.
knew each child, including one that wasn't really her child, but Steve. She knew all of them personally, like who they were. So I
Yes.
would say Harriet Winslow, for that reason, is my favorite TV mom, and it's a show I really still enjoy watching.
All right. Well, oh, I seen that show before. I actually used to watch that. I think it was Friday nights. He used to come on Family Matters.
Yep, TGIF,
Yeah,
Yep.
come out Full House,
step by step.
Family, Step by Step. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
we're gonna get past that. So, my favorite TV mom is Aunt Viv.
Okay.
I was real big on the Fresh Prince, the original Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Um, and Aunt Viv is dope to me because not only did she take her sister's son and allow him to live a better life in Bel Air and incorporated him into her family,
Right.
um, without making him feel like an outlier.
Yeah.
Right? She loved on him. She nurtured him. She made sure that he learned the same lessons that her children were learning at the time, and she also exhibited what it meant to be a mom with an identity.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm.
Because she was still doing her own thing while Uncle Phil was out here being successful, a lawyer, a judge, all those things. But she was still, while they had Jeffrey, she was still holding the house down. She
Right.
was still making sure the kids was good. They was eating, they was doing their homework, checking on the grades, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So Aunt Viv would be my favorite TV mom.
that's good. I think we all had good moms
Yeah.
that we chose.
I'm gonna
Now
go
wait,
do
the
some
original
research.
Aunt Viv or
Yes.
the last one that I think she only did 2 or 3 seasons.
You talking about dark skin or light skin?
I mean, if you want to take it there,
I mean, that's what it
I,
was. They
I
act
just say
like we ain't see the
original.
difference.
That's
Right.
right.
I'm like, how you
Yeah,
gonna replace it with the
try to take.
same
Yeah.
complexion?
I
Right.
think the character of Aunt Viv, let's not the
Yes.
person who played it,
Okay,
but just the character behind who she
okay, that's
was my
fair.
favorite. Because I would say
Fair.
both of them kind of like 50-50 is
Yeah,
good.
I like the original better. She had more. I think she had more nuance
Yeah.
as a character than you could tell they just kind of plugged. No fault to I'm drawing a blank on the actor that played the second Aunt Viv. No fault of her. I don't think that has anything slight on her ability to act. For me, it's more that I think because they just kind of had to, because there was
Hmm.
like a split that happened, throw her
Right.
in. It was hard for her probably to develop a full character around. So and then they,
Absolutely.
yeah. So and they kind of leaned into it. I think when they came back and she was the new Aunt Viv, they kind of looked
Yeah.
like they all like looked at her like, oh, like, and kind of made it clear like, yeah, we know this is a different person.
Right.
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 But yeah, I think the original Aunt Viv had a lot more time to really build a bond.
Right.
So it was
Yeah.
unfortunate that she had to end up leaving because I think the show didn't close as well as it could have closed because of that. Because the last
Yep.
few seasons, it was like we got a whole new Aunt Viv, we got a whole new energy, and
Yeah.
you can't recreate that with a different person.
Hmm.
Right.
And then I think I'm thinking she was only on 3 seasons or 2 seasons or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was short. It was a short time, but yeah. Anyway, that's this episode of the Fresh Perspective podcast with Selena Brown, the wonderful mother, the wonderful wife, and the wonderful woman. And we appreciate you for coming on. Sal, any last words?
No, just thank y'all for having me. I appreciate y'all shining the light on, moms and honoring moms and the nuance that is motherhood.
Absolutely, absolutely. Any last words for you, brother? All hearts clear.
Yeah. All I say is, shout out to all of the superhero moms.
Yeah,
Keep being great. Happy Mother's Day. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? On behalf of the Fresh Perspective podcast.
Happy Mother's Day, and we love each and every one of you.
Peace.